Hello Wildcats, Mr. Martin here. Just a really brief video to take you through Aware so that you can look up your your students' assessment data. When you start getting your rolls next week, I'm going to show you how you can type in these kids' names and you can see their schedule. You can see what special populations they might belong to. You can get an idea for how they've performed in the past. Just a way for you to get to know your kids. All right, let's get started. Okay, first thing you're going to do after you log in with your username and password, you're going to click over here on this Aware button. And as long as your master schedule has been locked down, you're going to come over here and you should see your classes. Now, if you're elementary, you're going to see all my students, and you'll click on that and you'll be able to see your kids. So the quickest, easiest way to get to know your kids individually, you'll want to come over here and you're going to click on the Students tab, and you're just going to type in, the name of one of your students. So if you have a roster, you can type in this guy right here happens to be my son. We're going to click on his name here, and lo and behold, we get Dale Martin, his birthday, what grade he's in, his student ID. This is his current schedule. This tells me a little bit about maybe what his pathway is or what his sequence is, and then we can take a look at how he's done historically. So we can click on tests and scores. Lots and lots of data right here. Literally, we have from all the way back to when he started school in third grade, his STAR scores, back then probably his tax scores, and so you can really start to look for patterns in how this young man is doing in reading and in math and things like that. We also have the common-based assessments. We can take a look back and we can look at how he's done historically on all of those. And so lots of information here. You can kind of see what kind of a student we're dealing with. So tons of data, and literally you just type in name after name after name, and this will get you that information. Typically forms and journal are usually blank. So test scores is going to be tests and scores is where you're going to see most of your information. So just a quick tidbit there. You can also click on any one of these and you can get a breakdown by SE, how the student did. You can actually, if you have an old copy of the test, you want to look at that. And then you can see how the student did compared to the campus and compared to the district. Okay? So, lots of information there. Now, if I'm more interested in how my students did collectively as a class, I'm going to come over here to, say, Quick Views. I'm going to look at the STAR test again. I could also look at their CBAs, common-based assessments from last year, but we'll stay with the STAR test in this example. So I'm going to look at 2018, and I want to look at these guys, say maybe when they were in fourth grade. I've changed examples on you. This is a current fifth grade teacher, so we're going to look at how they did in fourth grade. Maybe we want to take a look at their math scores. And so now what I have here is, out of the 65 kids who were assigned to me when they were in fourth grade, this was their average score, this was their average scale score, this was their average percent. 64% were approaching grade level, 23% met the standard. So that kind of just gives me an idea of how the kids were doing. This button right here tells me that this is where the students are now. So it's based on the kids that are in my 5th grade class now. If I click on this button, it tells me based on where the kids were last school year. If I want individual scores by student, I can double click and I will get all of my student scores. Okay. If I come up here, I can also look at this information by tutoring strip, which will tell me by student whether that student got the answer right or not for these particular questions. Okay, so this student had difficulty with questions 2, 3, 9, 13, etc., on the STAR from last year. This is the SE, the actual standard. Okay, so this is a really good way for me to start to build a profile for the things that these students are having difficulty with. And I can see that some are having more trouble than others based on how long their tutoring strip is. Another thing that we can come over here and take a look at, we can look at the student learning breakdown, the standard breakdown. And so now this graph, same 65 kids that are in my class, okay, but this is by 4th grade math standard. And then this tells me the percentage of students who were successful with that standard. So maybe 4.2E, we don't have to worry about so much, okay, or 4.4C, which is a secondary standard, maybe we don't have to worry about so much. But on the other hand, we should probably take a look at what's going on with 4.2A, since we only have 23% passing in that particular standard. And it drops off even more down to 13% passing when we're looking at our economically disadvantaged students. So this is a really good planning tool. When I get my year at a glance, or my 9 weeks at a glance, and I start seeing the standards that we're going to be covering this coming 6 weeks, if I'm a reading teacher or a math teacher, if you run this student learning breakdown report, this is a good way to see maybe what you need to really focus on coming up this 6 weeks, this 9 weeks, or for this unit. So that's a really informative report there. And again, you get that by being on the Analyze tab, Quick Views, STAR Test, pick out your test. Remember, we're looking at last year's data, so we're going to pick 4th grade. We're going to pick math, and this takes us to that data. Then all we have to do is come up here, and we're looking for the student learning standard breakdown. Hope that helps, gives you an idea of how we use Agiphoria to disaggregate student data. Your department chair, your grade level chair, will also be able to help you. Your instructional specialist is pretty well versed also with disaggregating this data, but you can always email me or reach out to me. There's also some other videos on our instructional technology website, so you might want to take a look at those, or just shoot me an email. Always glad to help. That email address is dmartin@splendoraisd.org.